This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. You're joining us for a special episode as part of our 2023 ACCE Chamber of the Year Finalist Series. Our title sponsor is Community Matters, Inc. With nearly 20 years in the chamber industry and over 100 media awards presented to their chamber partners, Community Matters provides the R&R that every chamber needs, revenue and recognition. When it comes to publishing a chamber map, directory, or community guide, Community Matters has the trusted experience to help your chamber accomplish your goals. With different advertising sales models and publication styles, Community Matters will help you create a non-dues revenue machine. Let's hear from Becky Womble, President and CEO of the Bastrop Chamber, to hear about her experience using Community Matters.
I've been using Community Matters for probably 6 or 7 years now. And in a previous life, I sold commercial printing. So I can highly recommend Community Matters because it's a complete turnkey job for any busy chamber exec. Basically, you give them a membership list, and from there, they contact your members, and it's no high pressure sales or anything. And it really is a complete turnkey job from start to finish. And it's a wonderful, beautiful printed product whenever you're finished. And I'm very sold on Community Matters, and with a printing background, big endorsement for me.
To learn how Community Matters can support your chamber with your next publication, please visit communitymattersinc.com/podcast to request your free media kit and request a proposal to find out what kind of non-dues revenue you can generate. Our guest for this episode is Roy Nascimento. Roy has been president and CEO of the North Central Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce since January 2015. Under his leadership, the North Central Massachusetts Chamber has been recognized among the top chambers of commerce in the country for its impact and operations. Among many of its honors, the Chamber was a 2017 and 2021 runner-up for the prestigious National Chamber of the Year Award, the first chamber in Massachusetts and New England to have ever been recognized as a finalist. The chamber also achieved 4-star accreditation in 2018. As a 20-plus year veteran of the chamber profession, Roy previously served as president and CEO of the New Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce from 2006 until December 2014. Roy also previously led the Attleboro Area Chamber of Commerce and served as vice president at the Metro South Chamber of Commerce in Brockton. Roy is a leader within the Chamber of Commerce industry. He's the past president of the board of the Massachusetts Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives and is past chair of the New England Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives and the MACCE Council of Chambers. In recognition of his leadership and record of accomplishments, Roy was named New England Chamber Executive of the Year in 2011. He's an IOM graduate from Villanova and the Economic Development Institute at the University of Oklahoma and has been designated as a CCE by ACCE. Some of you may remember Roy from a previous episode, 99 episodes ago on episode 134. But Roy, I'm excited to have you back on Chamber Chat Podcast again as a Chamber of the Year finalist. I'd love to give you an opportunity to say hello to all the chamber champions that are out there listening, and go ahead and share something interesting about yourself so you can all get to know you even better.
So thank you, Brandon. It's really an honor to be back, and especially under these circumstances, being a finalist again for this very prestigious honor. So we're hoping this is our third time being a finalist. So we're hoping third time is a charm, and that we get it this year. But I'm not that interesting. I lead a pretty boring life, so there's not much. I guess I'm going to lean back on what I mentioned the last time you interviewed me. That's kind of unique about me is that I'm. Most of your listeners probably wouldn't be aware of this, but I'm actually a child of immigrants. My parents were from Europe, they were from Portugal, and they immigrated here for a better life. And I was born here, so I'm a U.S. citizen. But actually, a few years back, I ended up applying to get my Portuguese citizenship. I had a friend who was of Irish descent, and he applied. His grandmother was from Ireland, and he applied and was successful in getting dual citizenship. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I said, let me try that. And so I applied and was able to get dual citizenship. So I'm a U.S. citizen, but I'm also a Portuguese citizen, and that's something neat that I can in turn pass down to my kids, because they can apply for Portuguese citizenship if they choose down the road. So, and it's just a nice way to kind of connect back with my heritage, and so that's kind of unique and different. So something your listeners probably aren't aware of.
Yeah, no, I think that is fascinating. And when you shared that last time, I thought that was really interesting and fascinating. And I know a lot of people have dual citizenships, but usually with the US and Canada, so to be able to have US and Portugal, that's pretty neat. Well, tell us a little bit more about the North Central Massachusetts Chamber, just to kind of set the stage for our discussion, help us understand the type of chamber you are, size, staff, budget, that sort of thing, just to kind of know where you're coming from before we get into our conversation.
Sure. So our chamber is based in the city of Fitchburg, Massachusetts. It's a city of about 42,000 people. And we are a regional chamber, so we cover city of Fitchburg, two other cities that are in north central Massachusetts of similar size. And altogether, we cover about 27 communities. And we're basically, as the name suggests, we're in north central Massachusetts, so we're about an hour west of Boston. And our region obviously I'm a little biased, but it's a beautiful and really wonderful dynamic region. Here in New England, we offer so much. We have a very diverse economy, very, very focused on manufacturing. We have the largest concentration of manufacturing in the state. But we also have a good mix of rural communities. So we have a lot of farms and agricultural businesses. We have about 800 farms, orchards, and other agricultural businesses here in north central Massachusetts. And we're our claim to fame. One of our claims to fame is that we're the home of and the birthplace of Johnny Appleseed from American folklore. He was actually born here in Leominster, Massachusetts, which is our largest city in north central Massachusetts. And we still have a lot of orchards, apple orchards here and in the region. And we really market the heck out of that as part of our tourism marketing efforts, kind of our agricultural history and our connection to Johnny Appleseed and American history. In terms of the chamber size, our budget is about $1.5 million now, and we have about 16, 17 staff that on the professional staff, and we've grown over the last few years, particularly around our work around economic development.
Good deal. Yeah, the whole Johnny Appleseed aspect is that's interesting. You definitely have something to kind of plant a flag in, and everybody in the country is familiar with Johnny Appleseed and can really capitalize on that. So I think every community has their thing, right? Your thing just happens to be one that more people can resonate with.
Absolutely, and I know we're not the only state that has ownership of Johnny Appleseed. He certainly helped pioneer many parts of our country, but it all started here. He was born here, and we really tried to capitalize on that. And we use as part of our marketing that we're a Johnny Appleseed country. So it's a great place for people coming from the city and from other parts of New England to come out and connect with their agricultural roots and come out here to some of our orchards that have reinvented themselves, and become destinations, really catering to visitors and tourists.
Yeah, that's great. It's got me wondering what his real last name is, so I'm gonna have to do some research.
Chapman.
John Chapman. All right, save me some study time. Well, I'd like to just have you maybe hit the two programs that you guys submitted on your Chamber of the Year application at a high level, just to kind of give us an idea of what those two programs are about. and then we can circle back and dive in a little deeper on both of them.
Sure. So the first initiative that we had submitted as part of our application, as part of our synopsis, was around an initiative to engage with the Latinx population here in North Central Massachusetts. And this really was an outgrowth of the pandemic. We operate underneath the umbrella of the Chamber, our economic development arm. It's called the North Central Massachusetts Development Corporation. And it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And it was formed by the Chamber, and it's our economic development arm. And this, under this entity, we're certified by the U.S. Treasury as a community development financial institution. We're also an SBA lender, and we're a community advantage lender under the SBA and EDA lender. So all that means that we are able to provide microloans to businesses in the region to support economic development. And with that, we've also grown our technical assistance. We do a lot of hand-holding, providing a lot of counseling and technical assistance. And in recent years, we've started providing grants as well to support startup businesses and existing small businesses that, for a variety of reasons, can't get through traditional financing. So we will be able to provide them some capital to help them get that business going, with a caveat that it creates some jobs and investment in our communities. And we've been doing this since the 1990s, and we've been growing in recent years. And we found during the pandemic that Latino businesses, and again, Latinos are the largest minority population in the region. In one of our largest communities, it represents about 30% of the population. And if you look at the data, Latinos are starting businesses at 3 times the rate of the general population. So this was obviously, a population that we wanted to engage and support. And during the pandemic, when we were doing so much to support businesses and help them get through the pandemic, we saw that a lot of Latino businesses were not taking advantage of some of the resources that were out there to support businesses. They weren't taking advantage of the PPP loans. They weren't taking advantage of different grants that were offered by the state and by our local communities. And so we really, this was really an outgrowth of that. So we really decided to focus on the Latinx population, engaging them. We really needed to engage them more. We decided to hire a full-time individual on our team that was multilingual, Maribel Cruz, and she's a great addition. She speaks Spanish, Portuguese, and English fluently. And we also developed some strong partnerships with other groups within the community that focused on the Latino population. So as a result, we were able to connect Latino business owners to our network of businesses, to the Chamber, but also to these different resources, including resources that we have underneath the umbrella of the Development Corporation. And we saw a really strong impact over the last 2 years. We did about $1 million of microloans to Latino businesses. That represents now 1/3 of our loans that we made over that 2-year period. We also provided thousands of hours of technical assistance to businesses, and we helped connect them to other resources as well. And as a result, these Latino businesses were able to secure loans through other banks and credit unions and get grants from the state as well. So we were able to connect them with that. And I should also mention, we also evolved. We've been evolving over the years. So we've started providing grants as well. So we were able to provide some grants as well to Latino businesses to help them get started or to overcome some challenges as they were starting. So, and all of that helped create jobs and helped create investment within our community. So we were really pleased with the outcome and the impacts from this. These are small loans, they're micro loans, but they can have a tremendous impact in our communities, helping to start local restaurants and coffee shops and hair salons. And we track the jobs, and they create jobs in our community and creates investment in our communities.
Yeah. So as you are reaching out to these Latin-owned businesses, Are these strictly chamber members you're reaching out to? Is it Latin businesses in general throughout the community, or how are you making that approach?
So we are engaging Latino businesses. They do not have to be a member of the chamber to get a loan from our economic development arm. And so, we were engaging Latinos broadly within North Central Massachusetts. And obviously, we'd love to get them more engaged in the chamber. And so that was also something that we wanted to let them know that there's this network of businesses, and we want them involved because we think that's an important part of being successful is networking and being involved in the local community, and we want them to feel comfortable. So that was an important part of the project, really engaging them in the community through some of the partners in the community that they're already working with, as well as bringing on that staff capacity, bringing someone on that could reach out to them in their own language and could provide culturally competent technical assistance and advice to them and engage them. So that was an important objective as part of this project.
Yeah. So with this program, a lot of this is providing microloans and grants, like you had mentioned. Mm-hmm. And I know typically loans and grants come with some sort of stipulations, an application process and things like that. But being that, being a Chamber of the Year finalist is all about the impact in your community. Because you have these, stipulations around loans and grants, what sort of impact are you seeing on the follow-up, over time as these new businesses or, especially these Latin businesses are taking advantage of these resources that you're helping give access to?
Yeah, so we track the loans and you're absolutely right. These are loans, so they have to be repaid, but they're pretty competitive rates. These are not rates that we're not a predatory lender. We're not charging enormous rates. These are same rates you'd get through a bank. And we do have an underwriting process, so we do have to evaluate each loan. And so a lot of time is often spent with the clients, helping them get ready just to secure the loan because they're not always prepared. They may not have a business plan. So there's a lot of pre and post loan counseling, getting them prepared to submit their application, collecting all those documents, and we still do the underwriting. So not everyone gets approved that applies to us. So this isn't free money. They still have to apply and show that they have a plan in place and that they have, a fundamental understanding of their business and what they plan on doing and have the ability to repay and be successful long term. And then once they get the loan, we're still following up with them. So we follow up on a regular basis. Our team is meeting with our clients, finding out what are the pain points, where are they struggling. Typically, we see that they're struggling on things like accounting systems or marketing, and that's across the board. That's not just Latino businesses. And then we track the impact. We keep an eye on the loans. We want to make sure that they get repaid. Because if they get repaid, then we can lend that money out again. So that's one of the things I love is we can continue to have this impact. But we fundamentally track jobs, and through over the last 2 years, just the loans to our Latinx population that were made, there were about 57 new jobs that were created from those loans that we made. And the average size loan was just $25,000. So these are typically very small loans, typically working capital or to buy some equipment. We go as high as $250,000, but again, the average loan is typically about $25,000.
Yeah, that is huge. So I can see the impact that makes individually on each of those businesses. It is a benefactor of those microloans, and but also the community in general to be able to have those jobs and the families that are being affected and community, and it bleeds out throughout the community.
Absolutely, and anecdotally, a lot of these loans, really have an impact in the community. We're seeing loans that a lot of them tend to be riskier businesses that can't find traditional financing because the industry tends to be very risky. So a lot of food related businesses, coffee shops, restaurants that if you look at the statistics have a high failure rate. So, and typically we don't compete with our banks and credit unions. They're a number one referral source, and we partner quite a bit with them. So typically, they're a big referral source for us. So a community bank will not be able to make a loan to a startup business because it's too risky, because they are a startup business and because they're looking to open up a restaurant and they have higher failure rates. And so the bank may not want to take that risk. So they'll pass them along to us, and we'll take another look at it. We tend to be a little bit more flexible in our lending approach. Again, we still do underwriting, but we try to be a little bit more flexible because we're looking at it through this economic development lens. And as I mentioned anecdotally, it's great to see these loans, see these restaurants start up, these coffee shops start up, hair salons in some of our communities and in some of our downtowns. Like we have one community where, we had one Latino business owner who's a restaurateur who has taken the risk of opening up a restaurant in one of our downtowns and one of our cities. And the downtown is a priority for the municipality. They're trying to revitalize their downtown, and a lot of empty storefronts there. And so they prioritize bringing in more kind of destination businesses, and they want to see more restaurants in the downtown. So we were able to help them with help this entrepreneur open up this Latin restaurant, and that's becoming a destination. It's bringing more people into the downtown, and that's encouraging more revitalization of the downtown and more businesses opening up in the downtown. So it has that kind of ripple effect beyond just the jobs that we track and the lending dollars that we track and the jobs saved, but it's also that kind of helping to revitalize parts of the community.
Yeah. So the question that comes to my mind is where the initial funding came from. I know you guys have been doing this sort of program for a while, but with the focus on the Latin population right now. So did that initial funding come through a foundation, or, I mean, it's great as the loans get repaid and you get some interest collected to be able to get it back out in the community. But for a chamber listening, where would one get started doing a program like this?
So that's a great question. So this goes back, our original lending started back in the late 1990s. So we had a military base here called Fort Devens that was closing. And so the chamber was able to secure a grant from the Economic Development Administration and utilize that to capitalize our first loan fund. So that's where it all started. We got this grant. We had to match it. So we had to match it. I think about 25% of the grant. We had to match it with private sector dollars, which we did at the time. And that capitalized our first revolving fund, which is still providing loans to this day. And since then we've expanded. We now have, I think 6 loan funds. And one of the loan funds is an SBA loan fund, which we use SBA money. We get a loan from the SBA and at a very favorable rate, and then we lend those dollars in the form of microloans. We have to have, certain requirements. We have to have a loan loss reserve account set up, and it is a loan, so we have to repay the SBA back. So we're on the hook for that. But that was very useful a few years back when we were running out of capital and needed more capital. And since then, we've gone out and we've been successful in raising other funds. We've been able to secure other grants, federal grants, state grants. We've also secured private dollars. So we've been lucky enough that we've been successful, and that our local stakeholders and our members have been supportive of the work that we've been doing. So we've been able to secure contributions from some companies and local members that have enabled us to capitalize and continue to provide loans. So yeah, we've been successful, especially over the last few years, with the work that we've been doing around lending and being able to grow our impact from providing these micro loans. It's a really nice tool in our toolbox to help support community development and economic development here in North Central Massachusetts. And I think it's something that makes us a little unique. So I know some chambers do it, but not a lot. And most chambers are not in the lending space. So, and I'm always happy to talk to any listeners that might be interested in getting involved in providing loans and supporting the entrepreneurial ecosystem in their communities.
Yeah. And there could be a whole nother deep dive on how to structure that and get set up. So any listeners, I would take Roy up on that offer to reach out and connect with them to learn more if that's of interest in, providing that resource at your chamber. But Roy, let's shift gears. We'll change some focus onto the other program that was submitted on your Chamber of the Year application as soon as we get back from this quick break. Are you looking for a year-round, affordable, and timely shop local campaign for your chamber or CVB? Look no further. Build a custom Eat, Shop, Play mobile app with App My Community by visiting appmycommunity.com/chamberchat. App My Community mobile apps are not just simple membership directory listings. They provide many more capabilities to engage with your community. Provide your residents with a robust events calendar. Partner with a local fair, festival, or farmers market to provide a schedule, map, and other resources to promote the event. Run a small business Saturday campaign any time of the year using built-in scavenger hunts. Allow your membership to communicate directly to their customers via push notifications. Your App My Community mobile app will be a unique member benefit, allow you to generate non-dues revenue with sponsorship opportunities, and best of all, provide a valuable resource to your community. Please visit appmycommunity.com/chamberchat now to receive 10% off your first year of an App My Community mobile app. Exciting news! Introducing Piply by Chamber Nation, the innovative solution to manage and promote your community for unstoppable growth. Joining the Chamber of Commerce means one thing: commerce. Businesses want to thrive, and Piply is here to make that happen. With Piply, your members can experience remarkable benefits even if they can't attend events. It's a game changer for retention. Say goodbye to ordinary directories and embrace a transformative commerce management system. Unlock the true power of commerce management. Picture a centralized Piply dashboard combining top mobile technologies for subscriptions, event registration, community communications, and more. It's incredible. Don't miss out. Visit piply.com to learn more. That's PIPPILY.com. Schedule your demo at richardscalendar.com. It's affordable and delivers more. Piply by Chamber Nation. Your community's future starts now.
Hi, I'm Raquel. I work with Yiftee to help over 500 chambers, cities, and downtowns across the U.S. keep local dollars local and support their small businesses. Our CEO, Donna Nowitzki, and I will be at the ACCE conference in Salt Lake City from July 31st to August 3rd, and we would love to meet you. Swing by our booth to say hi and learn about our community gift card program. Community cards are custom branded for your community and can only be used at your chamber members' businesses. Plus, the program is free. You can learn more by visiting yiftee.com, that's YIFTEE.com, or emailing us at sales@yiftee.com. See you at the ACCE conference.
All right, Roy, we're back. So tell us, what was the second program that you guys submitted in your synopsis on your Chamber of the Year application?
Yeah, so the second project that we submitted was a project that we undertook last year to modernize and improve our visitor center. So we operate a visitor center. It's called the Johnny Appleseed Visitor Center, named
Go
after
figure.
Johnny
Yeah.
Appleseed. Yeah, and we've operated the visitor center. The visitor center was a byproduct of our regional economic development plan, our original regional economic development plan back in the 90s. I mentioned the lending that we do. That was also a product of that. So we underwent this kind of big regional economic development planning process when Fort Devens was closing. We had some major employers that were closing. So we kind of led this effort. It was before my time. But out of that came this whole kind of blueprint to really advance our economy here in the region. And that included, supporting startup businesses through microloans and technical assistance, growing our tourism economy because we really didn't have much of a tourism economy at the time, But we're a beautiful area that has a lot to offer visitors and groups. So out of that came our visitor center. That was one of the recommendations. So the chamber led this effort to get this visitor center opened, and we operate the visitor center. We've been operating it successfully since the 1990s. This project really was to modernize and update it. So we operate the visitor center. It's on our Route 2, which is a state highway. It's actually owned by the state, but we operate it as a partnership with the state. And so we pay for all of the expenses. We staff it. We cover all the expenses. I think they cover the electricity on the lights out in the parking lot, and they plow. But other than that, we cover most of the expenses. And so we really wanted to, as part of our new economic development plan that we launched in 2021, we wanted to grow our tourism economy. And one of the recommendations was, as a real actionable step that we could take, was modernizing the visitor center and really trying to reimagine it and transform it from a typical kind of visitor center and rest stop to more of a unique and inclusive kind of anchor destination that really showcases North Central Massachusetts and really helps to advance our economy. So we took on this project. We were lucky enough to secure a small grant from the state of about $75,000 from our Office of Tourism, which we matched. And the total project was, I think at the time, about $170,000 altogether. And since then, we've made some additional improvements, so it's probably over $200,000. But we were really looking at improving the visitor center, modernizing it, adding some amenities that we knew visitors were looking for. We wanted to really tell the story of North Central Massachusetts there. So we included adding some new interpretive displays, adding new signage for the collection of historical items that we have there. We have this really, over the years, we've built up this enormous collection of historical items that help tell the story of North Central Massachusetts, including a lot of Johnny Appleseed memorabilia. And so we wanted some better signage within the visitor center, showcasing that collection to visitors. And then we had added over the years some interesting artwork. We have this what we call the Big Apple of New England, which is this 10-foot apple sculpture. That's a nice attraction there that people like to take photos in front of. And we have this beautiful sculpture of young Johnny Appleseed there that's also very popular. So we added some signage to those, and we included a lot of local artwork. We also wanted to make the center safer, so we added more video cameras on the grounds. We wanted to make it more inclusive, so we added ADA compliant handicap doors, which we didn't have there. We added shading over the picnic tables. We added a dog walking station there, which was something that visitors had requested. We added a water bottle refilling station, new digital screens, and then we really improved the appearance there as well. So we added a new sign, and inside we did a lot of cosmetic renovations to the visitor center, adding a lot of wood paneling to give it kind of that rustic look, and new floors, and we invested quite a bit in landscaping as well. The visitor center also has a lot of apple trees, including 2 apple trees that were from saplings that we received as a gift from Ohio years back, from an original last remaining Johnny Appleseed tree that he planted. It's called a Rambo tree. That's the variety of apples. And so we made some improvements to the apple trees and the landscaping and throughout the visitor center. Again, all of it with a goal of trying to improve the visitor experience and also to make it more inclusive and to better tell the story of North Central Massachusetts. And again, it's all aligned with our regional economic development plan that identified tourism as a priority sector as a way we can grow that. And the visitor center as like a really key piece of that infrastructure in supporting the tourism economy here in North Central Massachusetts, that we could improve to help build up our economy here around tourism in the region.
Yeah, I like that you said the giant apple, the photo op for tourism to come through there and take pictures, and I think it's a great idea to be able to provide something like that as a tourist attraction, because it ends up getting shared out on social media. It gets amplified. Oftentimes they'll tag where they are, the location they were at when they took the picture.
Yeah, it's great. Those types of photo ops are really popular, and we take really great pride in the Johnny Appleseed Visitor Center. It's really a very unique. We like to say it's not your typical highway rest stop. This started again back in the 90s, and there were, I think, 15 or 16 state highway visitor centers that were operated on a similar model. There were partnerships with local chambers or local tourism groups, convention visit bureaus that would operate the visitor centers in partnership with the state. And unfortunately, a lot of them have gone out of business. They've closed. And there's really no state funding for visitor centers. So our organization really has to operate it and fund it. Again, provide all the staffing and most of the costs, most of the expenses are covered by our organization. And we've been able to, we're successful in just being able to keep the doors open and run this very successful visitor center. But we've also, again, been able to make it into a very unique destination. We want to continue. Our vision is to be the best visitor center in Massachusetts and really tell that story. And it's great that we've gotten some national attention. There was a story by the BBC about our visitor center. There was a story on our local television. There's a Boston television station called WCVB Channel 5, and they have this very popular program called Chronicle, which is kind of a lifestyle and tourism program. They came out and did a story on the visitor center as a very unique destination. So we're not your typical rest stop. We're not your typical visitor center. We're really trying to make it more of a destination. And by virtue of making it a destination, we're helping to showcase the region.
Yeah, I think you guys are on the right track with it for sure. I was curious, as far as the vision for the revitalization and like the actual aesthetics in there and the displays and the wood paneling, those sort of things that you described. Did you have some consultant that offered suggestions on those improvements, or was it a committee within the chamber, or how did that unfold?
Yeah, a lot of it was a combination. So a lot of it was staff driven. So we do have a full-time visitor center manager. So she knew what visitors were requesting, kind of the amenities they were looking for, and she had a kind of a wish list of what she'd like to add there to help support, give these visitors a great positive experience when they were coming to the visitor center. So, but we also did check in with members over the years. We brought in some members of our board that specialize in retail, and we have a small gift shop there as well that sells local items. And so we brought them in and had some retail experts come in, and how do we improve this experience for visitors, and how do we get them to purchase more local products there, because that's helping to tell the story of the region, and also again generate some income to help us support the visitor center. So a variety of different input from different stakeholders. We also had a member who is in the construction and development area, and so he volunteered his time and gave us did a lot of the pre-work and kind of helping us figure it out, and some initial costs and things of that nature. And then we do operate this again. We operate the visitor center, but it is on state property, and we have to get approval from our state highway department. And our initial plans, we had to scale down because there were some things that they just weren't comfortable with, and they didn't want us. We wanted to expand the visitor center itself and knock down a wall, give us more space so we could have more displays, historical displays. And they were very uncomfortable with any kind of construction. They were like, if you start knocking down walls, and we have this whole process you have to go through, and we actually also wanted to add a small playground on the grounds, and they were concerned about liability, kids using the playground. So we had to kind of nix that, adding a playground to the grounds of the visitor center. But but they were still great partners. They believed in our vision and were very supportive of the project, and we were able to get it done. And I'm really proud of the visitor center and the impact it's having here in the region.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, Roy, as we start to wrap things up here, I wanted to ask you if for listeners, if there was any tip or action item that you might suggest for listeners who are interested in taking their chamber up to the next level.
So I think I'm going to give the same advice I gave the last time 2 years ago, and that's to be entrepreneurial. And really, it was the advice I was given by my predecessor. And it's really looking at your community, your region. What are the needs there? What are the challenges? How can the chamber, help with those challenges? For us here, I talked about lending. That was something that was missing here. And the chamber was really able to fill that void and become kind of that alternative lender, helping to provide startup businesses with that capital and that technical assistance they needed. And that has evolved over the years, but it's been able to help us have an impact here in the region. And the tourism stuff, that was a gap, that was an opportunity. We saw that that's a way we could diversify our economy. And so we stepped in and have been able to provide great leadership there and helping to drive our economy and transform our economy here in North Central Massachusetts. So, be entrepreneurial, find out, how you could best help your members. I'm always amazed when I listen to your podcast and hear about chambers doing all kinds of impactful things, and what might work in one community might not work in my community, but I'm always able to learn about it. And I'm always amazed at the ability of these chambers to be able to adapt, be flexible and be nimble and be entrepreneurial to serve their members and to have an impact in their communities. And so I think that's important.
Very good. So I like asking everyone as I have them on the show about the future of chambers. So I know I asked you a couple of years ago, but how do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
So I think it goes back to our roots. I think if you look back at chambers, chambers were always those, we are by our very nature, we're a big network of businesses in the community that come together to have an impact in the community, to advance the community. That's our mission statement, is to advance North Central Massachusetts. And so I think it's going back to your roots, just looking at, I think a lot of chambers have become transactional. They focus on the networking, and networking is important. We do a lot of networking, but don't lose sight of your mission. And that's really to promote the community, and that whether it be through advocacy, through economic development, through events, whatever it is, don't lose sight of that mission. And I think it's providing that leadership in the community. And that's the future. We're seeing chambers continue to evolve, and it's kind of going back to our roots, being those organizations that provide leadership in the community and that really help to drive the economy and helping their communities think about change and leadership and the future.
That's awesome. Yeah, the mission's important, and keeping those roots close by, so you remember why you're there and let that chart your course. Well, Roy, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share any contact information for listeners who want to reach out and connect with you, maybe take up your offer on learning how to provide loans and access to grants like you guys are doing. What would be the best way for someone to reach out and connect?
Sure. So first off, our website is northcentralmass.com. So all my contact information is on the website. Again, that's northcentralmass.com. And I can also be reached via email at rnascimento, NASCIMENTO, at northcentralmass.com, or by phone. Call me anytime, 978-353-7600, extension 225. It's 978-353-7600, extension 225. And what I love about our industry is that we're always willing to help each other. And I've had a lot of chamber execs that have become friends and mentors that have always been willing to take my phone call and provide advice and support. So feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Awesome. So I will get your contact information in our show notes for this episode as well. So listeners can look it up there and connect with you. But Roy, I've enjoyed having you back on Chamber Chat podcast and catching up with you and hearing more of the great things you guys are doing there in North Central Massachusetts. So thank you for joining us, and congratulations to you and your team again being selected as Chamber of the Year finalists. And I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you, Brandon. It's been great, and hopefully this was helpful. And it's really an honor. Thank you for the opportunity to interview.
If you are a chamber professional, please subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. When you subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast, new episodes will show up in your podcast app each week as they are released. If you're finding value in this podcast, please leave us a rating and a review in iTunes. But most importantly, please share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues that are in the industry.
Have you ever thought about creating a podcast for your chamber? We always hear about how chambers need to be storytellers. What better way is there to tell the stories of your members and the work of your chamber than through a podcast? Your audience is waiting to hear from you as a convener of leaders and influencers, champion for business, and catalyst for change within your community. I just launched a Chamber podcast course with the goal to get your very own podcast started within 30 days. Visit chamberchatpodcast.com/pivot to learn more and to enroll in the Chamber podcast course today.